Most people don't realize how much of their personal information is being bought and sold every day. Data brokers are making millions pulling details about you from public records and the internet, then packaging and selling it, usually without your consent. That's how your information lands in the hands of scammers, spammers, even stalkers. It's why you get endless robocalls and why ads seem to follow you everywhere. That's where Aura comes in. Aura actively removes your data from broker sites and keeps it off. They also instantly alert you if your information shows up in a breach or on the dark web. But Aura goes beyond data protection. With one app, you get a VPN, antivirus, password manager, spam call protection, dark web monitoring, and even up to $5 million in identity theft insurance, all backed by 24/7 US-based fraud support. Other companies might just sell credit monitoring or just a VPN. Aura gives you all of it, together at the same price competitors charge for just one service. Start your free trial today at aura.com/hidden. Protect yourself now at aura.com/hidden.
Hey there, I'm your host, Tisha Michelle, and welcome to #Certified, where you will leave enlightened, empowered, and inspired to live a life of authenticity. Let's go. #Certified, I am your host, Tisha Michelle. So I know time is something that we cannot get back, and I truly do respect and appreciate you spending your time with me. So I just wanted to take a few seconds to say thank you, thank you, thank you. I so appreciate each and every one of you. All right, so today I want to talk about a conversation I had with my friend the other day, right? So we were just catching up and she was updating me on what all was going on with her. Then she asked me, she's like, so what's up with the podcast? And I told her that I was rebirthing #Certified the podcast and that I was now working with the podcast queen. So shout out to Jessica Hurley. She is so dope and amazing. So anyhow, so she asked me this question and she was like, oh, so that's cool. She was like, so what is #Certified going to be about? And I was like, oh, what do you mean? She's like, like, what are you're going to talk about? Like, who's it for? And, I was like, well, I believe that experience is our greatest teacher, right? And that all of us have gone through many of experiences, some experiences that we want to continue to have and enhance. And some of them we're like, oh, hell no, I don't never want to experience that shit again, right? And I said, so #Certified is for everybody that's certified in them. So each and every one of you that are listening, you're #Certified because you're certified in you. You're certified in you because you've gone through, different experiences and you're still here. You're still being able to push through. #Certified is for everybody. I mean, I don't really know what to tell you. I'm like, it's for everyone. She's like, oh, okay. And bless her heart, right? She basically was just, as the conversation went in, she was just looking for me to tell her like exact things that we're going to talk about. Like it's going to be lined out. It's going to be this topic. Or it's going to be this, and this. And that my niche is for, and she said something like, oh, like I just figured like it was just like for women and you just want to like empower women. And, like, again, bless her heart. I was trying to tell her, I said, I've never been one to be in a box. I like to say I have structure without any control. So I may have like a skeleton shell of what I want to do or want to talk about. But I mean, I don't need any like full control where I got to be on the schedule and say it's going to be this, and this. I'm never attached, to the outcome. I'm always detached from the outcome because I like to create space and allow for the universe to drop little things, in because I may think it's one way, but the universe is like, boom, girl, no, it's going this way, so I'm completely open. So I was telling her that that the #Certified will be me talking to you, just me on here, just chilling, just having a conversation. And I said, and then I will also going to be bringing you some episodes with some guests, sitting down with some guests. I love a good story, and all of us has a story. Everybody wants to be heard, and I want to have that platform for people to share their story because I know in those stories, that's where the inspiration is going to come from for other people. That's where the maybe motivation, the empowerment, impactment is all going to come from real life stories. And so you can actually hear someone's story who went through something that you may be currently going through, and one, you're going to know that you're not alone. And then two, you may be taught another perspective to what's going on with you. So I was just explaining to her about that and just telling her that, I don't know, we may be talking about one thing on the show and then it leads into 4 or 5 other things, but I trust and believe that everything is perfect exactly the way that it is. And this is what hashtag certified is going to be about, that there's no one size fits all. There's no one recipe. There's no that we have to stay inside of a box. When people used to tell me, you just got to think outside the box. And I'm like, wait a minute. There is no box. Stop trying to put me in a box, And as things was going on, like the longer and stuff, I would say that. And then I would remember like, wow, I am inside a box. As much as I'm saying, stop trying to put me in a box. I'm not in a box. I don't need to think outside the box because there is no box. And like resisting that thing, I'm like, yo, I am in the box. I've been so conditioned to have to follow, a structure. And here's just to control, like, okay, Tisha, you're going to start this podcast, right? And this is who your target market is, right? This is your niche. These are the only people that you're going to be talking to. And this is the topics that you're going to talk about and stuff. And don't get me wrong, some people work very well, like that. But I personally don't. I love to create space and I love for it to just be open and whatever drops in, drops in. So I like to say, you know what? We're going to have structure with no control. And I'm going to shell it out. I'm like, oh, we're going to sit down and we're going to talk to, such and such about such and such. In that conversation, I know it's going to switch. I know about 10, 15 things, different things is going to pop up. And just know that that's okay. That is okay. And when I'm working with people one-on-one, or I'm doing a talk, or I'm just having a conversation like with my people, it's like, it always goes back to being authentic. Right? And I'll ask that question and I'll say like, who are you? And I'll be like, who am I? And it never fails. These conversations always goes back to our authentic self. Like, who are we? At your core, when you remove all of the layers, right? That came from our family, that came from society. Shoot, the ones we put on ourselves, our whole belief system. Like, if you were to be stripped away, you remove all of that. Like, who are you? Who are you at your core? And a lot of people will be like, if, you ask that question, like, oh, who are you? And you're like, oh, I'm a mom, I'm a CEO, I'm a manager, I'm, this, and this. And I'm like, oh, no. That's what you do. But like, who are you? And a lot of people have a hard time answering that question. Even myself, I had a hard time answering that question because I would say the same. The first thing out my mouth, I would just be like, oh, I'm a mother, da da da. And then, I really realized, I'm like, wait a minute, those are the things that I do. Who am I? And at one point, the answer was, I don't know. I don't know who I am. And since I've been on this self journey, now, someone says like, who are you? Like, one of the things that I say is like, I'm me. Now I'm 39. I'm a 39-year-old through the loss and pain of losing her best friend of 22 years is on this awakening. And when I say on this awakening, it's because I had my awakening. December of 2017 was the first one. But there's more. There's more. I've had little small ones, and there's more to come. And I'm like, I'm on this awakening that's turned into this self-reflection journey and this journey of authenticity. Because I know that one of my purposes here is to connect people to their true selves. But I have to first connect to mine and then also help people to remember their purpose, right? So you're probably like, oh my gosh, she done went off a track. We were just talking about, the structure and stuff. And now she's talking about like, who are you and being like authentic. But I'm about to tie it in for you guys real quick. So when it comes to being authentic, there's a lot of different levels of being authentic. And one of them is releasing this idea of what you should be doing. So in that conversation that I had with my friend, because she was so conditioned to have this structure and this idea of, oh, if you start a podcast, then it has to be this, 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 and this. She was then pushing that off on me. And I was like, no, 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 no. When we going back up a little bit right now and let me do my thing. So, so that's one form of being like authentic of like who you are. And that's making your own decisions, creating your own lane, not having that, those limiting beliefs that you have to have control over this, you have to have structure over this versus just free falling it, And when I say free falling, just like allowing the universe to guide you on what it is that you're going to talk about. Me personally, I have a hard time. Like, I don't like to, okay, let me see, I guess what's the best way to say this? Like, put this, I don't like to just say, okay, so if I sit here and I say, all right, okay, I need to record a podcast. All right, I will literally sit here and just be like, okay, what do I talk about? What topic should I do? And, and I have like the hardest time, and I'm like, oh God, there's no way that I could like do that. I literally have to just be still, be there, and just allow something to pop in my head and just be like, oh, I got to talk about that. Or, oh, I got to blog about that. Oh, I got to post that on social media, because I just allow that space for these different things to drop in. And I love that, because that's me being my authentic self. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not authentic 24/7. That I'm not. I don't think any of us are. So there's a lot of times where you're in a situation and I'm not being authentic. I'm not, because there's so many different levels to being authentic, where it even comes down to forgiveness, So it was interesting the other night, it popped in my head, something about forgiveness. And I was like, oh, this would be really good. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to post this on Facebook. So I don't even remember what day it was. I believe it was like a Tuesday night. And I was like, oh, I'm going to post this Wednesday morning, right? Because it was already late, and it just popped in my head, and I like put it in my notes. And then Wednesday morning, I posted it, about forgiveness. And, people were comments, and people were liking, and people was, was agreeing and putting their own personal stuff. And that was great. And then, how Facebook pops up and tells you like your memories and stuff. Yeah. So it popped up and was like 3 years ago today. And it showed this post. And it was a post that I had put 3 years ago that same day about forgiveness. I was like, okay. And then it popped up with another memory, and it was like 1 year ago, and it was the same thing. It was forgiveness. And I was like, dang. I was like, okay, message received. So I had posted something. It popped in my head because, again, I like to create space, right? And this little inspiration dropped in, and it said, okay, post this about forgiveness. And it just so happened to be that 3 years ago and 1 year ago, that exact same day, I had posted about forgiveness. So I knew in that moment that those messages were for me. So as much as I thought that I was posting that out there for other people, which I'm sure a lot of, people resonated with it, but the message was also for me. So in that present moment, I had to go and do some, self-reflection and say, well, where in my life, do I need to apply this forgiveness? Who do I need to forgive? And the first thing that popped into my head was yourself. You need to forgive yourself. I was like, dang, wow. And that was me filtering through that. Am I being authentic right now? I'm not even being authentic to myself. Now that is a situation. Like, what do I need to forgive myself for? And again, that's starting to peel off those layers, because there's so many different avenues when it comes to authenticity, right? And then, like, I noticed that it's so easy to also get caught up in that when you are having conversations with your friends, and especially if they're not in that, they're not where you are at. And it's not that you're better than people. You're just in different spaces. So for her, when I was talking to my friend, her own personal thing was she likes a lot of, like, she needs that control. She has to have that structure, that full blown structure where it's like boom, 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 boom. So, well, I'm not going to say she was antsy, but she was a little like, what? Like, how's this going to work? Like, how's this, podcast going to work? Like, if you're not, coming at it with this whole full force plan and everything is down to like the T. She didn't understand that. And that's okay because we're in different spaces, right? And it was cool for me because I'm able to recognize that, like, oh, wow, and not allow someone else to put their project their stuff on to me, because that's what has happened my whole life, right? Which all of us, our belief system was formed, and, our parents put these beliefs on us, society put these beliefs on us, and, put all this control on us and our limiting beliefs. And we just go through life being fearful of everything. And then it's so easy to get snapped back into that being inauthentic, because then you're living and you're operating your podcast, out of fear because of your friend feels like you should have this complete control over there. And I just thought that was just really interesting. And I was like, ooh, podcast. So again, it wasn't planned because our conversation wasn't even planned to go there, but it just leaves that whole openness and creating space. So I know I keep saying like I like to create space, but let me explain to you for those listeners who don't fully understand what I mean about that. So when I say that I like to create space, so one example is if say a situation arises and instead of just reacting to it and just reacting from the ego and operating out of fear, you just say like, okay, I'm going to do this, or no, I'm not going to do that, and you push back. Like with me now, I step back and I think to myself, I say, okay, so what is the universe trying to teach me right now? What is the universe trying to show me? Okay, so do I want to move forward with this or not? So then what I'll do is I say, you know what, I'm going to create some space so I don't respond. And I can meditate on it. And then I just kind of go about my business. And I might not even think about it, whatever that XYZ is, right, for a little while, because I'm creating space. I'm creating space for it to really, truly, fully reveal itself to me, or maybe some ideas to come to me, or, a thought pops up, or, I have a dream and then I wake up from that dream like, oh, bet I know what to do. I created space. I created space for something else to drop in, or sometimes if I'm feeling, stressed out or I'm worrying about something, I love to get out in nature, and I'll go out and I'll go for a walk, and I'll be like, I got to create space. I got to silence the noise. So I'll go out there and I'll create space. And when I'm creating space, I'm telling myself, you're not thinking about this anymore. And you just get out there and I just walk and I take in the air. I look at the butterflies, I look at the squirrels, whatever is going on, out there in nature, my focus is there. So now I'm creating space in my mind because I'm not worrying and stressing, and I'm just looking and basically being mindful. I'm in the present moment, and I'm focusing on right then and there. And when I do that, I create space for the solutions to drop in. So that's what I mean when you'll hear me say like, oh, I like to create space. So if I'm getting on a podcast and I say, okay, so this conversation, with my friend sparked what I want to talk about. So I might write that on a piece of paper. Okay, I'm going to talk about the conversation I had with my friend about what I'm going to do with this podcast. That's cool, right? So I have that structure. That's the little skeleton structure, but I don't have any full control because I'm going into it with the intentions of I'm going to talk about this and I'm going to create space for whatever to drop in. And that's why we're now talking about creating space, because I created space for whatever to come in to just like come in. So I hope you you guys really understand what I mean about creating space. It's such a beautiful thing. Honestly, you'd be so amazed at the ideas and the clarity that you will get just from creating space. Don't react to a situation. Don't react to people, right? Somebody can be pushing, somebody can be coming at you all types of crazy, right? Because that's what you think. You're like, oh man, like who do they think they are? Rah, 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 and I'm gonna push back on them. Like, next time I don't want those things to happen to you. But if you find yourself in a situation like that, don't react. Don't even respond. Just step back and literally ask the universe, like, whoa, 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 what's going on? What am I to learn from this right now? Because one, it's not personal. It's about them. But then, you just step back and don't push back, don't react, and don't respond, and create that space for them to then maybe they apologize. Maybe they calm down and they explain, how it is that they were feeling. And then you're able to actually have a dialogue with that person, or the next time you're presented with something and you're not sure what to do, like which way to go. I talked about this before. One, check in with your body and see how your body reacts to it, as well as before you say yes or no. Just take a little bit of time and create some space, because when you create some space, something's going to drop in. Or if you, say you're having a financial situation, right, and you need money for, you're short on your rent or you're short on the bills, and you're just like, oh my God, and you're super stressing and you're worried and you're like, I don't know, I'm out of ideas. I don't know what to do, right? Well, in your mind, you have so much space taking up because I'm pretty sure you're jumping to the future, thinking about all the things that are going to happen if you don't get this money up in time, right? So that's worry. That's stress. Now you're making up stories, and then you're causing yourself to have all this anxiety. So now your mind is full. So what you want to do is you want to create space. So we're not going to think about it anymore. We're not going to make up these stories about what's going to happen in the future, because we're in the present moment, right? And like I said, get out in nature, meditate, do some yoga. And as you're doing that, you're going to create this space for a solution to drop in. And what happens is an idea will pop in your head and you'll be like, oh, bet. Why didn't I think about that? Or you'll get an email from someone offering you an opportunity, and it's an opportunity to make some money. Like, oh my gosh, this is crazy, or maybe you create space and you're like, oh my gosh, I completely forgot I had these funds over here that I could access, just anything of that sort. Basically, it's just a solution will literally just land in your lap, drop, come out of, thin air or whatever you want to say. Like, oh my God, that opportunity just landed in my lap. Yeah, because you created space for it. But if that space was taken up with all the stress and the worry and the anxiety, there's no room for anything to come through. You know what I mean? There's no room. So creating space is such a wonderful, wonderful thing. And it allows you to tap into your creativity. And for those of you who are saying like, yeah, I'm not creative at all, stop it. We're all creative. And creativity comes in so many different forms. So it's not just being able to draw. I mean, you can be a photographer. You can be, you're a swimmer, and you're creative. What do you mean? Like, you're creative because like it takes a lot to be able to learn like that skill and stuff and be able to put those different things together. Right. But you're also creative when you're good at problem solving, and we're going to go back to that box. And if you can see me over here, I'm doing air quotes, right? And it's, coming up with a solution that's creative, right? So an opportunity presented itself to me to go to Arizona for a retreat. And not only was I going to be participating in this retreat, but I was also going to be able to offer my services to the other ladies that are there. So it's a great opportunity for me to, continue with my traveling, because that is like a part of my purpose, and that's to travel the world, having these heartfelt conversations that enlighten, empower, and inspire people to live a life of authenticity and also remember their purpose. So I know that this is a huge opportunity for me. And because it's so close in the date, I'm like, dang, I got to get a plane ticket. I do have to pay, take the flight out there. Like, oh my gosh, flights are super high now. Like, so the whole time I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm trying all these different apps. I'm like on Hopper, Skip Lag. I'm on Priceline. I'm going directly to the sites. I'm on like Air Affordable. I'm trying all these different ways before I get this ticket, right? And so I was like, okay, creative. I know you're creative, Tisha. I know you're creative. So what are you missing? What are you thinking? So I could instantly just jump and just go buy the flight, but from a financial standpoint, like I don't want to continue to make moves like that. I want to be mindful of my resources and stuff, right? So I'm like trying all these different things, and then someone sends me a text message and they say something about one of the people who are driving from San Antonio to there, and it popped in my head, and I was like, oh my gosh, I could drive. I totally could drive to Arizona, right? And then I looked it up, and it was like, oh, it's going to take 1 day and 11 hours. I'm like, dang, that's a long time. But I'm like, wait a minute. I already drove 13 hours before to Florida for my son's All-Star game all by myself. And even though I had 2 drivers in the car, but I wanted to see how far I could go. And if I couldn't, it was cool. So I'm like, I could drive. I'm like, but I ain't going by myself, right? I'm not going to do that. While having a conversation with my son today, and I brought it up to him about this opportunity and about being able to, go to Arizona, but the flight and the whole shebang that I just basically was saying to you, but I just went into it with a little more details, right? So I said something to him about driving. He was like, oh, well, if you go. And he was like, I'm down. And I was like, word? He was like, yeah. And I was like, oh, okay. I said, well, Destiny, which is my 13-year-old, I was like, I'm pretty sure she's going to go. I'm definitely not taking the 8-year-old. That ain't happening. So when we were talking about it, I started getting so excited, and I know you're both there like, really, driving to Arizona on a 30-something hour job? Yeah, there's nothing exciting about that. But I was excited because that's that creativity at its finest, and that's that, I'm doing air quotes again, that thinking outside of the box. Because yes, if you want to go to Arizona, you just book a flight and you just go. But with this, because it's been a couple of days of me thinking about it, I created space for another option to drop in, and that option was you could drive. So the cool thing about driving is, one, I'll be spending that time with the kids, but it's going to be such an experience because we get to go through all these states. Some of these states we've never been before, and I have to stop at them and get me a shot glass because I like to collect shot glasses from the different places I travel to. But road trip, like seriously, like road trip, and then we'd like stop somewhere, and like depending on if we know someone in that state, we could just reach out to them and just stay there for a couple hours to get some sleep, and then just keep going, stop at a hotel. We're gonna like take a cooler, and we're gonna like make sandwiches and have all these snacks, and then we're just gonna like talk, and then we're also gonna be, all of us are going to be creating space for other things to drop in, like to us, like ideas and plans and goals and our heart's desires and all that stuff. So I'm saying all that to say that's creativity at its finest, by allowing space for something else to drop in versus just booking a flight and then just, going from there. Like, no, we're about to take a road trip from Virginia to Arizona. So amazing. And the different experiences and the memories that we're going to create by taking this, this drive, so that's being creative. And, that's coming up with some other solutions and these different ideas and stuff. So, again, I can't express the importance of creating space and how, the wonders that it'll do for you by just opening up. So one, you want to create the space, but you also want to be detached from the outcome. So one of the things that I like to say is like, if I'm, stating something out to the universe, I'll be like, all right, universe, I don't know, I can say something like, I want to go to Arizona for this opportunity, right? This is what I want to do. So, please help me to, I don't know, get there, or send me something better. Whatever it is that I'm asking the universe, I always end it with, or send me something better, right? And I say that because I'm open. I'm not attached to anything. Because one thing I do know for sure is when you attach yourself to the outcome of something and that something doesn't happen, it can be devastating and make you really upset. That's one thing. And then also when you are so focused on one thing particular, and it has to be this, it has to be this, it has to be that, you miss all the other opportunities. Because I can tell you right now, the universe always has our back, and always, always, always has our highest good in mind, So a lot of times we think of things as being negative or right or wrong. And I personally like to say there is no right or wrong. There's only experiences. So it's all in your perspective of how you look at it. So that's kind of like if you say you're applying for a loan, right? Because you need this, right? You need to get this money because you have these things to pay, right? So you apply for this loan and then you get turned down for that loan. And then you get all bent out of shape, and then you're mad and you're putting all this, crazy energy out that you're just going to get right back. So in those cases, and I've had that before where I've, I've applied for something and I didn't get it. And what I say now is I say, oh, bet. I get excited. I say, thank you, universe, because I know that there's something better I'm going to get. It could be I'm still going to get a loan, but it's a better interest rate. And maybe a better amount with a lower payment, a lower interest rate. Or I get an opportunity. Say I was trying to get a loan for, $5,000, but I got turned down for that loan. And then next thing you know, there was an opportunity that presented itself to me. That's actually, I'm going to make $5,000. I'm making it. I don't have to pay it back, So that's just a little trick that I like to tell people is that when you're praying anyway, right? So if you're praying and you're putting it out there, just say, or something better, Another thing with that too, I'm just feeling called to talk about this is, I said something about manifesting, right? And a lot of people like to, state these things that they looking to create, and everything. That's just what it is. Everything starts in our mind. It starts as a thought. I'm looking at a fan right now in my room. Somebody thought about that. Don't you think it'd be pretty cool if we, created something, I don't know, maybe in the shape of a square, and it had this thing and it spins and it blows this air on you, Oh, and you know what? We're going to call it a fan, right? So everything starts, as a, as a thought. And when we're sitting here manifesting, what is it you want to manifest? Oh, I want to manifest, X, Y, and Z. Okay, that's cool. I love affirmations and sticky notes, and they're all over my room. They're in my mirror. They're everywhere, right? So things I want to look to manifest. So I'll have something on there. I'll say I'm powerful, I'm confident, I'm bold, or I'll be I trust the process and I enjoy the journey along the way. Or I'll say something I travel the world, I'm a best-selling author, I am on TV, I am a spiritual teacher, I shine light on the darkness, right? I'll say just, different things like that, and I'll just keep putting it out there and stating it as I am. And then when it's my heart's desire, and my desire is to travel the world, right? And like I said, having these heartfelt conversations, right? So that's cool. So I have that on my wall, and I look at it every day, and I say it, and I say it as it's coming. But you need to go a little bit further, right? And you need to feel it. How do you want to feel? So I'm asking everyone that's on here listening, how do you want to feel? So I launched this thing called Just a Conversation and Brunch series, right? And the intention behind it is to literally just have heartfelt conversations over food. And I like to say some of the best conversations happen over food. Me and one of my friends, we're always going out to eat, and we have the hardest time picking the place to eat. But really and truly, it's not even about the food, it's about the conversations. I'm like, girl, we spent all this money and eating all this food just because we want to talk, right? Knowing that we could just do that on the phone or at each other's house, right? But, some of the best conversation and ideas happen over food. And then add on some mimosas. What? Powerful, right? So I was like, I just want to get people together, and there is no topic. There is no topic that we are going to be talking about. Whatever just comes up, comes up. So I've had 3 of them, right? And it was just been amazing in the stuff that came up and the way that the people, and I kept it small, 8 to 10, right? And I kept it small with a small amount of people because I want it to be intimate, and I want to be able to personally be in this conversation that we're all having. And it's not like this sideways conversation, but we're all just talking, and literally whatever is on our heart just comes up. And it was so crazy because the first one that I launched, it was, I'm gonna keep it 100. It was perfect. There was nothing of it that I would do different. Nothing. Everything was just great. I mean, there were the people that came were the people that I knew, and then there were 4 people that I didn't know, and I thought that was amazing. They just responded. They seen it, and universe, put them in my path, and it was great. And we were talking, and we literally talked about parenting. Are we jacking up our kids and how our childhood, was? We talked about social media. We talked about spirituality. We talked about spirit animals. We just talked about the most randomest things, but it was beautiful because it's what everyone needed. It's what everyone needed. And when I was done and packing up, I just kept smiling. And I was talking to a friend of mine and my son, and I was like, this is it. This is it. I love this. I'm going to keep it 100. I was like, I love this shit. I love how this feels. I felt so good. My heart was so full. And I remember laying down that night still thinking about the conversation in brunch. And I didn't ask the universe to send me more of them. I said, send me more of this feeling. I want to always feel like this. So I don't know how that's going to look. I don't know how the opportunity is going to come through. But what I do know is I want that feeling. And that's what I want to manifest, is that feeling. So again, I'm going to ask you, how do you want to feel? What's on your heart? What's your heart's desires? And really think about it. Think about that feeling that you want to have. And then stay in, stay in that space and ask the universe to send you more of that feeling. Because at that point, it don't matter how it comes, because that feeling is good. So whatever opportunity presents itself, it's not going to matter, because you're going to feel that same way. So I'm all about the affirmations, and I'm all about the stating what it is that you want. But I want you to go a little further and check in with yourself and see, how would that make you feel? And ask for that feeling. Because when you ask for that feeling, you're then opening yourself up to more opportunities and different things. And you're no longer in that box, and you're not attached to the outcome. The how, how's it going to happen? How's it going to show? Who cares? As long as you have that feeling, right? So we just talked about a whole bunch of stuff, right? Well, my heart is so full right now, just, having this conversation and talking about just the different aspects of being authentic, and the conversation that I had with my friend, and how it just sparked about, what my podcast is going to be about. So, which is great. It was just for me to let you guys know the hashtag certified is for all of you. It's all of you listening. It's for everyone that's listening. All of you guys are certified in you. And I'm so happy for each and every one of you. And whether I personally know you, or not, I just have so much joy over here for you that you landed on this podcast, because I trust that we are all connected for a reason, and we end up in people's paths. And that path could be through a blog, It could be through a social media post. It could be through this podcast, but there's a divine purpose why we all get connected to who we connect to. So I know that there was something that resonated with you, and I hope that you will hold on to that. And I hope that you guys will create some space so you can allow the universe to do its thing and drop all these things inside to you. But, as the conversation shifted and started talking about like our heart's desires, if you have a hard time really thinking about, well, what are my heart's desires? Like, I really don't know. I would say to you, if fear wasn't an issue, what would you do? And when I say that, because we only operate off of two things. We're from two ways. We operate out of love, or we operate out of fear. Right? So when it comes to fear, it could be fear of failure, fear of lack of support, fear of not having enough money, fear again of like falling on our face. So if you take fear away, what would you do? Like, what would you do? That's your heart's desires. And that's what I would say, do. Go for it. So a lot of times, like I had somebody recently that said, oh man, I'd travel the world straight up, but I don't have the money to do that. And I was like, okay, let's stop right there. Let's stop. Of course you don't have any money to do that, because you just said you didn't have any money to do that. We're going to change the way that we're talking, to ourselves. And I was like, I just said, what are your heart's desires? Like, what would you do? And you instantly said you would travel the world, but you don't have any money for, to do all that. And I said, anytime you say but afterwards, you cancel out the first thing that you said. So the first thing you said was, I would travel the world, but just cancel that out. So I'm like, okay, though, if that's your heart's desire, your heart's desire is to travel the world. Okay. So then I asked him, let's go a little further. Why do you want to travel the world? And I told him, I said, I was saying with me, I said, I want to travel the world, as well. And I have been. And I said, I want to travel the world because there's a lot in the world that I want to see, and I want to meet people along the way, and I want to have these heartfelt conversations with them because it makes me happy. It makes me feel good. And I love serving other people. And, that's why I want to travel the world. So then I, went as further and said, so again, why do you want to travel? And it said, no, stop. We don't want to talk about not having the money and stuff. Let's talk about why you want to travel. And when you figure out why you want to travel, like how will that make you feel? And that's all coming from love. And then you want to continue, you want to put some energy into that and don't operate out of fear. So again, I want you guys to think about this. I want you to think about, how do you want to feel and what are your heart's desires? So I am on Facebook under Tisha Green. I am on Instagram at It Is Tisha, and I would love to hear about your heart's desires. And so let's connect and let's continue that conversation over there. And you can send me a message, or, you can send me a private message. You can post on, one of my things and just say, like, my heart's desire is to X, Y, and Z. And who knows, there may be someone in my network that I can connect you with that has something similar, or who can, help you into that. So I would love to do that for you. So thank you again for your precious time and hanging in here with me. And yeah, until next time, have a great one on purpose. Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to #certified. If anything resonated with you, I would love to continue the conversation. You can follow me on Instagram at @itistisha. And if you want to be a part of the #certified tribe, you can join my Facebook group by going to the search tab and putting in #certified. My website is conversationswithtisha.com. As always, have a great one on purpose. Love you.